On the 6th skein of Christmas my postman gave to me 6 Hebridean owls. Oh, what a day. I have had problems with sound, I've had problems with vision, I have been worried about not being able to see because usually I use my phone in selfie mode. Now I'm using a camera so I can't see it. Got over that one. Got a mirror behind the camera so now I can see that I'm in frame and it's all great. I hope so anyway. Right, let's get started. Oh gosh. Look, I've already eaten all the Turkish delights. That's Christmas for you. My tea is actually warm for once, because usually by the time I framed it, it's all cold. So as long as my favourite mug doesn't crack, it'll all be alright. I thought I'd show you a couple of books that I've been looking at while I was waiting for... Oh yeah, my battery died halfway through filming as well. It's like... Oh, everything went wrong. Anyway, so I'm hoping this video will work. Right. This book. And I was looking at this book while my battery was charging. And I'll show you a little bit, some pictures later to show you the sheep that the lady on Balnahard has. And this is a really good book, The Field Guide to Fleece. I love this book. You can just take it anywhere and have it in your bag and people will say, "Oh, Alex, what sheep's that?" And I'll be like, "It's a mule." It's always a mule. Or a texel. But you don't need the book to find out if it's a texel because they just look sort of like that. This book, I was reading, I was looking at Gala from Plorhatch Flock's Instagram the other day and she reminded me that I'd only started reading this, said how much I liked it and then put it down. I think I read a bit of his other book in between that time, but this one, it really reads as like a coming of age story as he becomes the farmer of his farm, and he talks about looking back at the traditions that they have and how is the best way, how to make a decision of the best way to move forward, sort of looking back and seeing how they can improve the environment on his farm and how the wildlife was missing from their farm as the years had gone on, and bringing back those, I guess, that biodiversity. Anyway, so yeah, I was reading. I thought I'd read a bit of that while I was waiting, and it's really great because you can just dip into it. It's not one of those where you feel like, oh, I really need to know what's going on. You can just pick it up and there'll be a story, and that's the thing. James Rebanks is a really good storyteller, and you just feel completely engaged in the story. But I've talked about him in my podcast somewhere at some point, so that was really nice. Right, so today, if I can find my notes, not that one, this one. Today I'm talking about Balnahard Farm, which is where the Colonsay wool growers are based. So Sarah is the lovely lady who's been talking to me and answering my questions. Now Colonsay is, yes, I Google Mapped it. Colonsay is just to the west of Loch Lomond, I always say that wrong, and Glasgow, and a bit north of Ireland, and just south of the Isle of Mull, which is really quite famous. And it's a Hebridean island. Is it a Hebridean island? I'll put a little text as whether it is a Hebridean island. Anyway, they have Hebridean sheep on it. Then I'm going to talk to you about this hat that I'm wearing, my tassels. And yeah, so I heard about Balnahard on Instagram. This is where I get all my wool knowledge. And I just saw this amazing striking cowl with this bright yellow wool that said it was naturally dyed. And it was just made by Joe Spencer, who I'm going to be talking about in one of the later days. I think it's like day 9 or day 10. And yeah, so I saw this cowl and I thought, whoa, that's amazing. I have to get some of that wool. So I went on her website and had a look, and I got this lovely wool, which is plant dyed with nettles from, well, the locally sourced nettles. And yeah, I thought, I wasn't really sure what it would be like, but it's really lovely. It's got this sort of, they've blended, yeah, I think because of the way the BFL and the Hebridean have been blended, there's like a black, which is a darker bit, and a white, which is a lighter bit. So you get this lovely two-tone as you go along the fibre. And now I can get out my Fleece and Fibre source book and show you. I love that it's alphabetical. Can you see them? Anyway. They're these crazy sheep with like ears like that. It's so funny. And yeah, so that's that. Right. Colonsay Wool Growers is 5 years old, and they've historically had 450 mountain bred sheep on that farm, Balnahard Farm. And they are Scottish Blackface and Llyn sheep. So that's the Welsh sheep that I spoke about on day 2 with Plorhatch flock, and they are ideally suited to a wet and wild climate and have very hard wearing wool. But in the questions that I asked her, she said that she decided to introduce a bit of BFL, so that makes the wool a bit softer and gives it that nice lustre. Yeah, but I'll tell you about the questions later, because now I'm going to talk about my owl hat. Oh no, hat hair, but it's okay because I've got the mirror and give myself a little hairbrush. It's all good. Right, this, as you can see, I've knitted it all the way along and then up, and this is I feel like I'm cheating a bit because I didn't really measure it. I just so I did this special line of stitches that creates a brim, and I just knitted it all the way, and then I decided when to stop the seam, you know, when it was big enough for my head. And once I'd done that, I just sewed it up the top with a little seam inside, and then I did these little tassels just for fun. And I think it's just really slouchy. I did it on these massive needles. Where are they? 8mm needles. I've never done it on those before. because I really wanted just a quick knit, and actually I'm quite chuffed with it. I think it's kind of slouchy. I might make another one. I kind of want to make another one in a different colour as well. Yeah, I'm really impressed with it, and it's such a soft drapey fabric as well, and I was never really sure what I was going to do with it, because I'm very much buy the wool, have a little squish of it, and then maybe find a pattern later. So yeah, so I'm really excited about that. I didn't mean to make it look like an owl. It must be some sort of subliminal messaging on their website, because they have owl door stops, and they have like square hats that are knit up that way, with different colours. They do hat kits on their website, but yeah, I quite like mine. There must be a little ghost of an owl that haunts the wall and says, make owls looking things. Right, what was I going to say next? Yeah, I'm very happy with my hat. Oh yeah, so I looked on their website as well, and they have something called the Colonsay gin. Okay, I'm putting some text down here for that. So I looked it up, and Pot Still Yarns is the name of the project, and basically Colonsay wool growers take the spent botanicals from the Colonsay gin distillery and use them in their natural dye stuffs to dye the wool. They use the residual, like, natural dye stuff that have been used to make the gin, so say juniper and that, to dye the wool with, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, so question time. Right, I sent Sarah some questions, and she very kindly responded to them for me. So I don't know if it's living in the Midlands that makes us a little bit like, oh, islands, what must that be like? It's so far away to the sea from here. When I was in the climbing club at university, we went to Bossigran in Cornwall, which is really cool, and I actually climbed on like a crag by the sea, and there were like crashing waves underneath, and sort of pictures where you don't show your parents. But actually I think it was like a V-diff or a diff, so it wasn't even a very hard climb that I did, but it was really amazing being on by the seaside and climbing. So I only said that because all the pictures on Sarah's Instagram seem to be of the cliffs and the waves crashing, and it just really reminds me of that. So I asked her, is it easy to live on an island? And she said that life on a small island is idyllic in many ways, but can also be logistically quite challenging. In the summer we get a ferry every day, but in the winter only 3 times a week. So any sort of trips to the mainland take days rather than hours, because they haven't got any transport. Whoa. And I thought having a bus come every hour wasn't very much. So this makes getting fleeces to the spinning mill a bit harder and more expensive, and going to trade shows and craft fairs are becoming prohibitively expensive, as they involve staying away from home for longer. A minimum of 3 days, so it also means that she can't work from home during that time. I also asked her why she got started. She said, I've always knitted, and I was pretty bored with our flock of 400 odd black-faced sheep, all looking much the same, so in order to make the sheep more interesting to me, I decided I would start to use their fleeces and to breed some sheep with a softer wool for knitting yarn. Why not? And obviously I asked her, what's your favourite sheep? And her favourite sheep is the blue-faced Leicester, and we all know what that looks like now. They have great character as well as fantastic wool. Unfortunately, the climate here is not suitable for purebred BFL, so we have a couple of bluey tups or rams, and we crossbreed them with our ewes. Her favourite part of the job is another one, lambing. My favourite bits of the job are lambing, seeing what future fleeces might look like, and also dyeing wool from my very own sheep with plants from the farm. Then I asked her how she dealt with COVID. COVID has been interesting. As farmers on a very remote farm, it has made little difference on an everyday basis. However, we also run the farmhouse as a self-catering holiday house, and I have a craft gallery in the village. I didn't know that, but she does some really nice photographs, so that makes sense. Obviously, for most of the season, both the house and gallery have been shut, which has actually allowed me to concentrate my time more fully on Colonsay wool growers. So from that point of view, it has been quite helpful, although not quite so profitable. Well, I thought that was quite interesting to find out what people have been doing during the year. And it's great that she's got that sort of diversification of different things, so if one's not so profitable at the moment, she's still got other sort of parts to fall back on or to focus on, so that's cool. Right, I think that's everything, so I hope you're having a really nice week, and I'll see you tomorrow for New Year's Eve. Yay!